In the 2006 film The Illusionist, directed by Neil Berger, the plot revolves around a gifted magician named Eisenheim, played by Edward Norton, in early 20th century Vienna. Eisenheim's captivating illusions attract the attention of Crown Prince Leopold, played by Rufus Sewell, and his betrothed, Sophie, played by Jessica Biel, who is also Eisenheim's childhood love. As the magician and Sophie rekindle their romance, they become entangled in a dangerous power struggle. Leopold, threatened by Eisenheim's influence and determined to maintain his grip on power, uses his authority to frame Eisenheim for Sophie's apparent murder. However, through a series of masterful deceptions and illusions, Eisenheim reveals the true nature of the prince's machinations, exposing the corrupt and sinister underpinnings of the aristocracy. This tale of trickery and subterfuge in The Illusionist mirrors the historical Meyerling affair, a scandal that rocked the Austro-Hungarian Empire in 1889 when Crown Prince Rudolf, heir to the throne, was found dead alongside his lover, Baroness Mary Vetsera, at his hunting lodge in Meyerling. Officially deemed a murder-suicide, the incident's true details remain shrouded in mystery and intrigue. The Habsburg court swiftly moved to suppress the scandal, using their influence to control the narrative and protect the monarchy's image. Both stories highlight how the upper echelons of society often resort to deception and manipulation to conceal scandalous or even sinister occurrences, safeguarding their power and reputation at any cost. Folks, the woman who once held the mantle of the hardest working royal has now been sidelined for the foreseeable future. So now they're saying that Princess Anne's injuries are much worse than previously thought. And of course, as I mentioned before, she apparently has amnesia. So no chance of her telling exactly what happened to her. And now, folks, it seems she has joined the magical disappearing club. Her daughter is quite understandably upset. And in one of my earlier videos, I had mentioned Princess Anne's schedule, pointing out that no one else actually had anything planned except for Princess Anne. And now her schedule on the royal family's website has been wiped clean. And that's not the only thing that's been wiped clean, folks. Earlier this week, Vulture came out with this comprehensive article detailing many previously reported and now deleted stories from the British press concerning Rose Hanbury. And this has been all the buzz since it was first reported. So now the question is, why is the British press erasing stories from the internet about Rose Hanbury? And what other stories have they erased? I know many people have said they've seen some article a while back, and when they go back to look for it, it's like, poof, it's gone. And folks, you should already know by now that the British press does nothing without the explicit consent of the royal family. And it seems like ever since Camilla declared herself the queen, the press has been acting like her personal lapdogs. Everything they report is at her behest. And folks, it's obvious they are in bed with not only Camilla, but William as well. But I'm going to tell you something. I don't believe that William has as much sway over the press as Camilla does. And over the last year or so, their closeness has become more obvious. And I think their closeness has more to do with personal vendettas than anything warm and fuzzy. So if he needs the press to say, go after his brother, then he has to go through Camilla. Because, folks, it can't be lost on everyone that every single day there is another negative story in the headlines about Prince Harry. And folks, I'm not sure if people understand that this is a result of the media being used to manipulate rather than to inform. Why would they delete a story previously reported if not at the request of some interested party? And that same interested party is going to tell the media what to report in order to manipulate people's minds, having them either form a positive or negative opinion of whomever the subject happens to be. So what is the real deal with the Rose Hanbury situation? A couple months ago, when Kate was still, in hiding, we saw Rose making a more prominent appearance in Camilla's orbit. But somehow now her presence has fallen off since Kate's miraculous reappearance at Trooping. And speaking of that, folks, does anyone not think it's weird that she shows up one time this year and it was so surreal, it was almost like she was conjured up. Then immediately after that, she vanishes again. And we're being told that she's actually behind the scenes taking all these pictures, although somehow she's never a part of any of these pictures, unless, of course, it's an old pre-December 2023 picture. Then we can find lots of those. But somehow, post-December 2023, strangely, there are no pictures of them together ever. And I'm just scratching my head here. Does this situation seem weird, or am I just tripping here? They're constantly telling us that Kate took this photo and Kate took that photo. And I'm wondering, well, why doesn't William ever say to Kate, all right, now let me take one of you with the kids? You know how people do. One person takes a photo of the group, then someone says, okay, now I'll take the camera, you go ahead and let's get one of you with the kids. How come that never happens? And by the way, I was listening to a YouTuber the other day and she made a really valid point. When someone gets cosmetic surgery, they usually want to show off their new face or new body once everything is set. You never hear about someone getting cosmetic surgery just to turn around and become a recluse. So I thought that was a really interesting point that was made. And the Kate we saw at Trooping looked pretty good to me. Why then has she seemingly vanished into the ether? And now it looks like she may not even appear at Wimbledon. Now they're talking about having some relative of the Queen, and God knows which Queen they're talking about. Everything's been turned upon its head since the real Queen's passing. Because, folks, I've never heard of this person. For all we know, it could be one of Camilla's friends. And they're talking about her stepping in for Kate at Wimbledon? Is Kate really this bad off? I mean, Kate is so frail and fragile. She can't go anywhere. But at the same time, they're eager to let us know that she is the new photographer and how she's actually the one behind the scenes taking all these photos. Why does it feel like we're being duped again? Okay, look, I maintain that this was Kate until further evidence proves otherwise. But I have to be honest about my feelings here. You know, someone in the comments pointed out that Why does it feel like trooping was like some kind of trick or sleight of hand? And I'm starting to get that disorienting feeling again, folks. So let's talk about some of the prevailing theories out there so far. Now, some people have suggested that the Kate we saw at trooping was a CGI or a computer-generated image. Others have suggested that this was yet another deepfake. Now, what is the difference? CGI involves creating entirely new content from scratch using graphic design and animation software, whereas a deepfake modifies and manipulates existing media using machine learning algorithms. So in other words, CGI is basically a really realistic animation, while deepfake is training artificial intelligence to recreate an image based on an existing image. Others have mentioned a hologram. Now, a hologram is a three-dimensional image formed by the interference of light beams from a laser or some other light source. Other people have mentioned that it could have been a pre-recorded footage. In other words, something that's already happened that they're passing off as recent. And we've certainly seen in the British press where they are repurposing headlines and trying to make it seem as though it is current. And of course, we have the theory that some people that have pointed out, and rightfully so, some distinct differences between the appearance of the Kate we saw at trooping and the Kate we've seen previously. Now, I don't have any proof either way to give credence to any of these theories, but I still can't shake the feeling that there's some trickery that's taken place here. But here's what's for sure is that Kate is gone again. That's right. She seems to have vanished again, and there's no good reason why. Now we're hearing that someone else is going to replace her at Wimbledon. Why does she need a replacement at Wimbledon? Of course, they always fall back on the convenient excuse about her cancer treatment. I mean, you cannot read any article in the paper about Kate without it being prefaced that she's undergoing chemotherapy. And it just comes off as more media manipulation. First they said she's showing up, then she's not showing up, then she's going to be at this event, then someone's stepping in for her. Why is it that since December there is so much uncertainty when it comes to Kate? It really doesn't make any sense. It's very easy for William to be spotted around doing something random, except for Kate. It's like she's being locked away. And now we have this report that Kate's been doing FaceTime with her kids while she's working overseas? Excuse me? How has this not made the news? How is it not on the royal family's website? Her schedule appears empty, but they claim that she is overseas working. I'm sorry, since when? Does no one find this claim a little bizarre? And no one questions this, of course. Look, if William takes a trip out to, say, the Isle of Wight or something, the press reports it widely. But somehow now they're claiming that Kate's overseas working. And first of all, we don't even know what country she's supposed to be working, nor do we know the nature of her work. Is she doing spy work? Is she doing diplomacy? What exactly is she doing overseas? And how is this barely a blip on the news? Now we're getting that everyone has to check in with Camilla's dresser to ensure that no one commits the egregious offense of wearing the same color as Camilla. So why does Camilla get a pass for behaving like a diva? This woman is obviously running the show. And Charles, who the hell knows what he's doing? But one thing is sure, he has clearly abdicated his role and handed over the reins to his wife. And that's all fine and dandy, but did the British people sign up for this? I don't know, maybe they don't care. But if there is any question whatsoever about who is running the show and controlling the press, one need look no further than Camilla. Which brings me back to the balcony appearance at Trooping compared to previous years. If you notice, before the Queen's passing, Camilla was sort of lost in the background. There's Anne, but this year, Camilla is front and center, and Anne is so far off to the side that she's not even in frame. And now, of course, she's out of commission. And now my spidey senses are detecting some kind of power struggle going on here, folks. Why does it seem like Anne is the last vestige of Queen Elizabeth's legacy rather than her son, the heir, and that somehow this is at odds with Camilla? We know they never quite got along, and as it turns out, earlier this year at the Commonwealth Conference, Anne refused to curtsy to Camilla, just like Kate. And according to this article, Sophie, who always has her finger on the pulse for whoever is in charge, did curtsy to Camilla. And we see that this year at Trooping, she was right there beside her. Because more and more, it's looking like refusing to curtsy to Camilla ends up badly for most people in this family. And William has clearly found a home in his kinship with his stepmother, both having an outsized ego, and they're clearly aligned in their goals for power. And heaven help whomever stands in their way.